Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is Tuesday, April 21st, 8 p.m.
This conference will now be recorded.
At 8 p.m. we are in Town Hall, room 119. This is the regular meeting, actually the general meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's a public meeting and a general meeting. The agenda came out secondarily, that called it a special meeting. It was on the agenda.
It was on the agenda, right. The only thing that made it different was we moved it to room 119 to accommodate Channel 79 and Public Works Department.
Fantastic, thank you. First thing I'd like to do is a roll call of the commission members to make sure they're all here. And so we have Carrie Gately, raise your hand here. Okay, we have Larry Warble, raise your hand here. We have George Riley. Can you unmute your microphone, George Riley, and say here?
Hi.
Thank you. And we have Jim Rand. Yep. At the present moment, we are waiting for Jennifer Leahy, but she will join the meeting as soon as she's available. Just one other ground rule that I want to just say real quick is we're operating this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in accordance with Executive Orders number 71 and 7B that were issued March 14th and March 21, which allows us to do meetings online on systems like this, and also post agendas and documents online. In mailings and notifications were suspended on some of the processes. The full executive order is in the Planning and Zoning Office.
Correct.
Anything else? Okay, we're good. Ready to start?
Ready to go.
Okay. The first item on our public hearing agenda is a continuation of public hearing regarding coastal site plan review number 165A is an Eppley flood damage prevention application number 173A. Larry Stevens, 14 Raymond Street. Should I read it or no?
No, I think we can note for the record that this public hearing was originally opened on January 21st, 2020, and has been continued to May 5th, 2020. This is Jeremy Ginsburg, Planning and Zoning Director. So we will put this on the May 5th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission agenda.
Okay, next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 324B as in boy, flood damage prevention application number 373B, Stephen K. Eppley, 47 5 Mile River Road. Proposal to construct and install a new dock consisting of a fixed pier ramp and platform, and to perform related site development activities within the regulated areas. The 0.43 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the north side of 5 Mile River Road, directly across from the intersection of Berry Lane, and is shown on Assessor's Map number 66 as lot number 6 in the R1/2 zone. Jeremy, do you have a copy of the PowerPoint present for me?
I do have a copy of the PowerPoint present,
secondary one?
and I can get you a copy of that. Let me get that for you.
It's okay. You can walk through it.
We'll walk you through it.
Jeremy, please give us an overview of this application.
Sure. As part of this application for a dock, the applicant submitted a request to State of Connecticut DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. We have a copy of the Army Corps Engineer approval in the file dated 24 January 2020. Staff was required to refer it to Westcog because it's so close to the Norwalk line. Westcog gave us written comments in an email dated February 21st, 2020. The opinion of Westcog staff is that the proposal is of local interest and with minimal intermunicipal impact. Therefore, it is not being forwarded to adjacent municipalities, and the regional staff is making no comment. In addition, we referred this to the city of Norwalk. I believe the applicant, Jeff McDougall, is here, and the property owner, Ken Eppley, is also joining us. They're both joining us virtually. Mr. McDougall has a PowerPoint he wanted to run through for the commission.
There we go. Okay, the applicant, who's going to be presenting? Is Jeff McDougall the presenter or Mr. Eppley?
Yes. Yes, Jeff McDougall here. I will do the presentation.
Please, go right ahead.
So basically, can you hear all right?
Hear you perfect, thank you.
Okay, good, great. So the first slide here showing the overview on the aerial. This project involves the replacement of a non-permitted structure. The original float and dock was quite a bit larger than what is being proposed. Like I said, it was non-permitted, so we're going through the proper channels. The original structure has been removed. We are now going through the DEP and Army Corps of Engineer permitting process. We do have, like Jeremy mentioned, we do already have the ACOE, the Army Corps of Engineers authorization, and it looks like we should be getting the DEP authorization shortly. I guess it sounds to me like, they're pretty held up on their end, just trying to process applications and all, being understaffed. This application, one of the things that we did do is the neighbors have had some input on this, and one of the things that came out of that was a slight relocation of the proposed dock structure to accommodate a little more room between the property to the southeast. So I believe all the neighbors have signed off on this, and there has been no negative comments. It sounds to me like everyone is on board with this application. Also, as part of this application, it did bring up an issue with some pipes on the property that drain the 5 Mile Road. They cross this property, and that's another thing that was brought up, was those pipes have become part of this process, where we're going to be getting a permit, a certificate of permission to allow those pipes to remain. So information has been submitted to DEP to allow those pipes to remain. But so there's really, if you go to the next slide, see basically the overview of where the property is. Can we get to that next slide?
Working on it, Jeff.
There you go.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so here you can see the
Unmuted.
you can actually see it, but here you can see the proposed structure. The float will be well separated from the littoral rights line between the two properties. So it should allow, if that neighboring property wishes to put a structure in, it's not going to be crowded in here. And that was one of the things that came about with the discussions with the neighbors. And then I believe if you go to the next slide, we can see the cross section, and that kind of defines how the structure is going to be put in. One of the things that DEP requires is that we have the floats supported on what are called float stops, so that it doesn't rest on the mud, and is evident in the structure here. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions on this. It's pretty basic application, and like I said, it really is an improvement on what was there. This is in compliance with all of the what they call the 440 application process through DEP, and that's pretty much the application.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, I appreciate that. Just so for the record, we have the Army Corps of Engineers approval letter that's in the application that Jeff alluded to and Jeremy confirmed. That's dated, I think, January 24th, 2020. We are still awaiting the one from DEP.
Correct. Should be here very soon, I would guess.
Okay. I do have a couple questions, Jeff, about adjoining properties. This is Stephen O'Vani, Chairman of Planning and Zoning. if you look on the submitted tax map that's part of the application, you have to the, I'm gonna call it the east, you have tax lot 7 and tax lot 8. Tax lot 8 looks like a building lot, and tax lot 7, which is included on your site survey, is number 165 on River Road. And then if you look at your mailings, you have, I think, 3 different adjoining neighbors that are all addressed at 165 on River Road. I just wanted to know, is this survey that's submitted, is that where it's marked Assessor's Lot 7, is that 7 and 8, or is that just 7?
Yes, the tax lot 7 is also, it's owned by Zach, as well as Zach also owns tax lot 8. They're partners on the tax lot 8. Tax lot 8 is technically really not a building lot. There really isn't enough room there to have a building, but tax lot 7, there has been some question as to what the disposition of that is. Is that technically a right-of-way, or is it a parcel? And I believe it was a right-of-way at one point when other people had rights to use that, when all of this property was owned by a different owner. And since Zach technically owns all of this property around there now, they own that piece of land, and I don't believe they have given rights to anyone else to that property. So it is my understanding that it really is not a right-of-way. It is just a strip of land that is owned in fee title by Zach.
Okay, it's the same kind of question, which is outside of your mailing zone. There's also tax lot 9. If you look on your tax map. I mean, I've seen things like that in my coastal review before of rights of way, where in other jurisdictions, people across the street would have a right of way to the river or the body of water, where those other people could put a dock at some point in time. The fact that it's owned by, if 7 and 9 are both owned by 8, and they've never been combined, that's it. Being owned by the same person is fine, but if I own 8 and I own 7 and I want to sell 7 to the guy across the street, does that change anything?
No, I believe that the way 7 is configured, like I said, it is owned in fee title. So if it were sold to an adjacent property across the street, that property owner would have the right to put a dock there. If it were just a right-of-way, the policy of DEP is to not allow for docks to be constructed on pieces of property that are just rights of way. So in this case, that property could eventually have a dock on it.
Does that go for number 9 too? Do we know who owns 9? They're outside of your mailing radius.
Number 9, I believe, does have a dock on it currently.
Okay. Because that didn't show up in the arrow that I saw. Okay, so
That was very recent.
that 9 had a dock put on it.
Yes.
Is that under your
I would say within the past 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
But this dock, Jeff, if I recall, that this dock is being moved more inland on the Eppley property, further away from the property line than the old dock, correct?
Correct. Much further away. Yes. I mean, like I said, that was one of the conditions. When the neighbors came and took a look at this, and we sent them the plans, and we sent them a revised plan showing the dock moved further upriver there. And because they did feel that at some point they would like to be able to put a dock on that property, we accommodated that by moving the dock further upriver.
Okay, so on your surveys, you have that float dock, which is, on the one survey, 64 feet away, and it's marked as lot 7. You think that's lot 8, or it's lot 7?
that dock that you see is currently owned by Lot 8. The one that we show is the 60-something feet.
64 feet away.
Yes.
Okay, so then on your exhibit, which is sheets 204, that assessor's lot is marked wrong. You have it is marked as 7.
Yeah, there were some changes on this plan. I'm not sure if you got copied in on the adjacent property is Lot 7, tax Lot 7, but the DEP also wanted to see us label tax Lot 8, which is technically not the adjacent property.
Correct. So this plan that we have, which is dated December 26, 2019, is not the most current?
It doesn't sound like it. If I don't see what you have, what you're looking at there.
It's your application.
Yeah, I would say that the original application, it did depict that as Lot 7 next to it, and that I believe that it is correct. I mean, it is Lot 7, which is adjacent to this property on the east. It's just that Lot 8 is separated by that strip of land. So that was just some clarification that DEP wanted to see on our plan. They wanted to see I don't know, for some reason they wanted to see that Lot 8 on our plan, even though technically it's not the adjacent owner.
And understood. I would like to see lots 7 and 8 on the plan too.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely forward that over to you. Sure.
Okay. All right. If that gets taken care of, then I'm fine. Let's go around the horn. Jim Rand, any questions on this? You're the Marine man.
I've got two, I guess, questions. First of all, on the approximately where I believe the intended dock is to be installed are 2 footings. Is that in anticipation of a successful application? I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to picture for myself where the dock's going to be.
Where the pier, the platform is going to be?
Yeah,
Yeah, that is where the platform is going to be, yes.
where those 2 footings are, whatever you call it.
Yes. Yeah, the sonotubes, the piers.
Right.
Correct.
And the second question is, I'm looking for the term. There's a proposed public access ladder. I haven't been paying attention, but I haven't seen that on other dock application, and I wonder what it derived from. Is it some riparian right or something?
No, that is a requirement of DEP. If you are not going to elevate the dock and have the dock more than 5 feet above mean high water, then you have to provide for the ability for anyone walking along the shoreline to get over your structure. Not that anyone's going to walk along that shoreline, but that is something that they require. So when you see a dock that is low, like this one is here, you will see these ladders being erected. We've done a number of those in the 5 Mile River like that.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. I have no other questions, Dave.
Thank you. Next up, Larry Warble. Any questions, sir? You have to unmute. There you go.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Carrie Gately.
No, I think, Steve, you addressed my question, which is about tax lot 8, which we can see on one of the maps that are included with the application, but it's not in the surveyors. So I think I would just be that was provided to DEP to have that provided and included with the application as well.
Thank you. Okay. George Riley. Any questions, sir? I see you're shaking your head no.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Has Jennifer Leahy entered?
Can you not hear me? It says.
I can hear you. I got you. Did Jennifer Leahy enter the meeting yet?
Okay.
Okay,
Jennifer is not here at the moment.
okay, nope, she's not here, that's okay. Would anybody in the public like to speak to this application? Are you getting any, you have 3 questions in the chat box, Fred. Fred. Okay,
None of those are questions regarding this.
yes, okay. Jeremy, miss anything?
No, what we could do is, if the commission is, 2 commission members want as a final, prior to a building permit type thing, to get the state approval and a final map showing lot 7 and lot 8, you could make that a condition of approval.
Because we may deliberate this tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't think you need it relative to the coastal site plan and the flood damage. It's more to have a better piece of information. So I think you could close the hearing
Okay.
without that piece and have that come in as a condition of approval, let's say, if the
Okay.
commission were to go
And
that
we
way.
might even be able to draft the thing without those 2 documents.
Correct.
Okay. Since there are no more questions and no public, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing from from George Riley.
Happy to, so move.
Can we get a second from Kara?
Sure.
Okay.
Second.
The hearing is closed. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Mr. Eppley.
All right, thank you very much.
Everyone.
Moving on to the next one. Coastal Site Plan Review number 346, Flood Damage Prevention Application number 400, Estate of Yolanda C. Zangrillo, 218 Long Neck Point Road. Proposal to remove an existing dock on the property and construct and install a new dock further south of the property consisting of a fixed pier, ramp, and platform and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 2.81 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Long Neck Point Road, approximately 0.3 miles south of the intersection of Pear Tree Point Road, and is shown on Assessor's Map number 61 as Lot 16 in the R1 zone. Jeremy, what do we have, sir?
You may recall the Zangrillo property, which the commission approved as a 2-lot subdivision a few years ago. That property had 1 dock right down the middle where the property line ended up being. So you may recall subsequently an application from Jeff Studi for, I'll call it, the northern lot of the subdivision for both a house, which is now under construction, as well as a dock. This application is for the, I'll call it the southern of the 2 lots, which is still owned by the Zangrillo family. For a dock, lot is currently vacant. Jackie Kaufman and Jay Klein are going to be presenting the application on behalf of Carmody Torrance. They have a PowerPoint application, Steve?
I did see this one.
Sure thing.
Okay, thank you.
Jackie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's so nice to see all your faces. My name is Jackie Kaufman with Carmody Torrance and Tennessee, here tonight on behalf of the estate of Yolanda C. Zangrillo. And joining me are Jay Klein and Gary Ketto as well. And we are here to request approval for a dock at 218 Long Neck Point Road. I know it's no small feat for us all to be here tonight, and I want to thank you all for allowing this hearing to continue electronically and to compliment your staff because they've been tremendous. The turnover from in-person meetings to electronic meetings has been wonderful. They've been available and flexible and have made it very easy on us as advocates and on the applicant. So I wanted to take a moment to thank them.
And thank you, Jackie. I think you sent us an email on March 12th telling us that this was going to happen.
I'm sorry. No good deed goes unpunished.
There you go.
But thank you. Jason, do you mind advancing us onto the first slide, please? So you can see here from this aerial photo, this is the property. It's located on the westerly side of Long Neck Point Road. The property is in the R1 zone. It's 1.3 acres. And if you can use your cursor, Jason, just to outline, you can see where that red dot is, and there's construction occurring to the north of that. That roughly, Jason's pointing out where the subdivision line was from 2017. So there is a beautiful home under construction, and we're hopeful for future development on the second lot. And that lot had been in existence since the 70s. It was improved with various sports courts, fencing, curb cut. They all served, this lot, 218, really served as an accessory lot to 214. And then subsequent to the subdivision, the commission also approved a modest lot line provision. So many homes in the neighborhood. Oh, if we just go back one more time, you can see that there are several docks that are located on both sides of this peninsula, including the lot just to the north, 214, or what it's really on 218. It had been used by the Zangrillos for many years. That dock will be removed and replaced. The owners of 214 have recently received a CAM approval from the commission to install a new dock as well in the future on 214. So this application now will allow those two docks to face more appropriately from one another. So the 214 dock, the house that's under construction, that dock will be located further to the north. And the dock that we're proposing to you tonight will be located further to the south. So go ahead, Jason, we can advance that next slide. Are we able to zoom in on that a bit? I know that your application packets, if you do have your hard copies, you're able to see that. We can see the setback there and the location of the existing dock. So the new dock will be approximately 5 by 73, fixed timber pier, a 3 by 30 aluminum ramp, and an 8 by 20 float. Might be worth advancing to our next slide as well.
Can you just go back 1 second? Can you go back 1 second, Jackie?
Yeah, sure.
And just have your pointer show us the existing dock that's being removed, and then where the new dock's going to be.
Oh, I think that's on our 6th page of our package.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know if we have the ability to
That's it.
highlight it with, in a color for you. It's a little hard to see on this small screen.
We can see
But
it.
oh, there we go. You see, Jason's putting in yellow
That's the old dock,
That's the old dock.
Yep,
or the existing dock, yeah, sorry.
The dock that will be removed.
yep.
Yes.
And then if you can highlight now, Jason, that where the new dock is going to be located. Thank you.
Perfect.
So it's in close proximity, but moved a little further to the south. Then we'll have several feet between the two docks, or the dock that was recently approved and this dock. So we have a fixed timber pier, aluminum ramp, and float, very similar to what we have today, but updated and upgraded.
Excuse me, this is Jim Rand. I apologize for interrupting, but while we're on this slide,
Sure.
looking at the new dock where it joins the shore, there's an arrow pointing roughly north. It says A. And
Yes.
just above that is a line that goes, you can't see my cursor.
No,
don't
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
Is
a
that
little.
the property line?
Yes, that's correct. That is the property line.
Okay, I was down there today and I couldn't figure out what the hell, how the lot line worked. But
I'm
thank
sorry
you.
you didn't have a nicer day for a site visit down there. But yes, it's the lot line. It comes. If we can go back to the subdivision proposal, Jay, I think we have a picture of that. If you can use the curtain.
Yeah, I see it.
Now you see it. So it comes. It's a little. Yep, there you go. So that was the line that you just saw. That was near the dock. Now you can see here, next to the left of that blue box, is the existing dock. And right now it straddles the property line out into the water. During the subdivision approval, we did mention to you that it was the goal for us to keep that dock as a shared amenity. And the goal was also to try to sell the two lots potentially together. That may have been attractive to a potential buyer or not. The buyer that did purchase 214 was not interested in having a shared dock. They wanted their own dock. And so they came to you with an application, and in conversation with the estate, they agreed that that dock would be removed by the estate when a new application was brought for an independent dock to function on 218.
Thank you.
You can proceed, Jackie.
Thank you. Jason, let's go back to our existing conditions photos. So you can see here, this gives you a little context if you're familiar with the shoreline on the property. So let's go to, I think we have some illustrations that were prepared that provide a little more context. So let's move to our next, there we go. So this float is designed so it remains a minimum of 18 inches above the seabed of the sound. What we can show you in a moment on our last slide, it meets all of the deep standards, and also we've recently received both Army Corps of Engineer and deep approval. And I think at the time of filing, we only had provided to you the Army Corps of Engineer approval, and since in the last few weeks, I think in mid-March, we received the deep approval as well. This dock is purely for recreational purposes for the owners of the property or the future owners of the property, and is consistent, we believe, with all the goals and policies of the CAM application, CAM app, no adverse impacts on coastal resources, and will allow the property to be used, quote, in a manner consistent with the rights of private property owners and the capability of the land and water resources. Also really will allow the future owner to take advantage of the opportunity of living on Long Island Sound. So we're happy to answer any further questions for you. Our engineer is here with us as well. And
Okay, thank you. Jeremy, do you have anything
oh,
to
here are
add?
copies of our approvals.
Jeremy, do you have anything to add at this point?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Jackie, inside the packet, we have the March 29th, 2019 approval letter.
Yes.
Is that for the lot we're speaking of, which is the southern lot? And at that time, did they rename 214? I just want to make sure this...
214 is the northerly lot and 218 is the southerly lot. However, getting the additional address applied to it, I think the subdivision was finalized in 2017. Don't know when the official address was applied to by the assessor.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that this March, the letter's a year ago. I wanted to confirm that was for 218, what we're talking about tonight versus what we...
Gary, can you confirm?
Yes, 218 is what we're discussing.
And the letter dated March of 2019 reverts to the lot of the application tonight.
Yes.
And we don't have the DEP letter?
It just came in recently. I think Jackie included
Actually,
it in her
what you have up
PowerPoint.
here,
The last
it's on
page
the
is
screen
PowerPoint.
and the last page.
I'm sorry, okay, got it.
That's okay. So yeah, it just came in we just received it ourselves about 2 weeks ago. So we provided that to staff.
Got it, okay. I'm good with that. Let's go around the horn. George Riley, any questions, sir?
Nope, all good by me, thanks.
Okay. Kara Gately, any questions?
No questions about the application. My only question is, I just lost a little bit of it. So the letter that we have in our package, the March 29th, 2019 letter, which I believe everyone's just said refers to 218, the southerly lot, which is the lot that this application is referencing to. This most recent letter in the PowerPoint, is this the March 29th letter? I just can't read it. It's so small on the font.
It's the same letter, yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay.
That's all I have. Yep, thank you.
You're good, Kara? You're welcome.
Yep,
Larry Warble, any questions?
No questions. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Jim Rand, anything additional?
No questions, thank you.
Steve, I have one more thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention
Let
earlier.
me just check on, has
Jennifer.
arrived yet? Nope. Okay, Jeremy, go ahead.
I would note for the record that we did refer this to State of Connecticut DEEP, and they did give us comments dated February 24th, which is basically, we've reviewed the application for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act, and have not found any inconsistencies in the proposal. And of course, then they subsequently approved it. So that was not unexpected, but I wanted to read that aloud as required for the record.
Thank you.
Jennifer is on the call, and
Guys,
go ahead, Jennifer.
no, I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone from the public like to speak to this application? There's nobody in the chat. I don't see anybody. I don't hear anybody either. Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing from Jennifer.
Motion to close the hearing.
In a second from Jim Rand.
Jim seconded.
Jim raised his hand to second, but his microphone was muted. Okay. All those in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye. I'm in favor of closing.
Okay.
Thank you.
6-0 to close the
You got-
hearing.
You got me both ways.
Got you both ways. Okay, thank you. The hearing is closed. Thank you, Jackie and Jason and
Thank you
everyone
all.
else on the team.
Thank you.
Stay well, stay healthy.
We will.
May I ask a quick question, Chairman, will you be voting, deliberating on this application tonight?
It's our goal to, Jackie,
Okay.
to deliberate on it tonight, time permitting. We have a few more agenda items before we're gonna get to deliberations, but that's the goal.
We are happy to stand by. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay as long as you like. Okay, moving on. Next. Okay, next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 345, land filling and regrading application number 152A, Matthew Rizzo and Melissa, I'm gonna say Houston, but it might be wrong. 3 Salem Straits, proposal to remove an existing in-ground swimming pool and spa and associated patio area and to construct a new pool and patio with an outdoor kitchen area, expand the existing driveway in front of the house and regrade the front yard, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including the abandonment of the existing on-site septic system and connecting to public sanitary sewer. The 1 acre plus or minus subject property is located on the north side of Salem Straits, approximately 350 feet east of its intersection with Goodwives River Road, and is shown on assessor map number 62 as lot 42 in the R1 zone. Jeremy, what do we have, sir?
We have an application with a couple different aspects. One is the pool and the patio and the regrading in the backyard. There's a minor change in the driveway and the connection and conversion from an on-site septic system to public sewer. The property, as you noted, is about 400 feet from Goodwives River, so we've included the requirement for a coastal site plan review, even though the property is not on the water, and the regrading in the backyard requires the land filling and regrading application. All in all, there's a number of different aspects, but there's really, I think Mr. Professional Engineer Rob Frangione is here to explain it. I don't think there's really any coastal resources on site, and the regrading is fairly minimal, but I'll let Rob describe the application.
Okay, for this
Good
application, we
evening,
have
for
Rob.
the record.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, sorry. Good evening for the record, Rob Frangione, Engineering. Can everybody see the presentation okay?
We sure can. There is a way to make it full screen. If you know how to do that, Rob, that'd probably be
Yeah, it's
helpful.
full screen on my screen. Everybody on the meeting is like really tiny. So, is it showing up as a full screen or no?
No, in PowerPoint on the upper left-hand corner, there's a projector. Upper left, you're going upper right, I think.
Whoops.
It looks like the old movie screen you pull down. If you click that, it
Yeah.
might make the stuff go away.
You'll excuse me, I'm on a Mac that's about 15 years old.
We're good. You can proceed.
Yeah, I'll
Tell,
just keep
somebody
going.
has it.
So basically, as Jeremy mentioned, this property was developed back in 2006. It had a full stormwater management plan with an existing pool and a large patio. That patio is going to be removed, as well as the existing pool, and in its place, a new rectangular pool, an outdoor kitchen, and some patios surrounding both in the backyard. The existing drainage system that was built for this house can support the runoff from the new impervious surfaces. As part of this application, there's going to be a minor expansion of the front driveway courtyard that will allow for one car to pass if another car is parked parallel. Right now, if somebody's parked in front, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get another car around to the garage. When this is all said and done, there's going to be about 558 less square feet of impervious area than existing. This reduction in impervious area is going to improve water quality leaving the site. And Long Island Sound is across the street there. The septic system, as part of this application, is going to be abandoned, and they're going to connect into the existing low-pressure sewer in the street. So there's going to be an E1 ejector pump just off the house, and that'll be an 1.25-inch line that goes into the combined force main. This will help lessen potential nutrient loading into Long Island Sound, which, as we had mentioned, you can see from the inset here, it's across the street. As Jeremy had mentioned also, there's minimal grading for this project. There's only going to be about approximately 25 yards of fill. That's basically over on the southeast corner of the pool. On our third slide, we've provided a planting plan that further provides screening. I mean, the property is already pretty well screened, but this will make it a little bit more robust and provide further screening. Furthermore, this project will have no adverse impact to coastal resources or to adjacent neighbors. That's really the sum of my application. I'm here to answer any questions should you have.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to have the commission ask questions first. Jennifer Leahy, you want to go first?
Sure. I don't think I have any questions. No, you're going down as far as your coverage. So no, I'm good. Good.
You good, Jen?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Karen, any questions? Your microphone's on mute.
No, I have no questions. I found this just a really interesting application just because of the septic and like the extensive work going on. But no, I have no questions.
Okay, Larry Warbo.
I'm going to stay consistent.
Okay. George Riley?
I follow Larry in all such things.
Jim Rand. Jim Rand, any questions, sir? I lost you.
I had a question, but perhaps it's better addressed to Jeremy. I was down there today with these very helpful maps, which I spent most of my visit chasing across the backyard because it's very windy. But my question relates to, let's see, the northeast corner of the lot, it's really tight back there. Now, I assume, Jeremy, that with all this is being done, the setback rules and all that stuff are being adhered to. It doesn't look to me, walking around, like there's a hell of a lot of space back there. I'm sure that the applicant would not submit an application that didn't conform to the rules, but.
You're right, Jim. It's,
I should ask.
the setback for the pool terrace would be 8 feet. The setback for the pool, as noted in the zoning chart, is 25 feet. It's a triangular shaped lot, so it has one front yard and 2 side yards. And so the pool has to be 25 feet from each side, and the pool terrace 8 feet from each side. So you're right. I think on one of the, I'll call it the southernmost, the westernmost, southeast corner, it's pretty close to 25 feet, but it should, or, is that correct, Rob? Or?
Yes, it complies. It's 27 feet off and minimum is 25.
Okay.
All right, I have no objection. I just wanted to sort of satisfy myself because I couldn't read this, as I say, while I was chasing around the yard.
I think
on to.
what might make it a little deceiving, Jim, is the stone wall, which normally would depict a property line, is about 15 feet in from the property line, so it's a little deceiving. And the same thing with the metal fence. Rob, the metal fence is not on the property line, and so you're right, Jim. It would seem like it doesn't fit, but it does fit. Good observation.
Which stone wall and metal fence is not? It's 15 feet within.
On the survey, Kara?
On the.
I'm gonna tell you what I know.
It's on the property. It's not on the property line.
Rob,
Where's the property line on this map? On what we have?
Rob, talk to plan S1, please.
Yep, that's where I am.
If you look, you'll see in the northeast corner, there's this iron pin found.
Yep.
And then you look
Got
just
it.
below that, you see existing EX metal fence.
Yep.
And you see that the metal fence, which is a line delineated with dashes and an M, that comes into the property. Meanwhile, the property line still stays almost,
Got it.
up, down
Okay.
on
So
the
then,
map.
the solid line extended out from the iron pin is the actual property line, not the dotted metal fence line?
Correct. The solid
Okay.
line, property line.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I see where it says 25 feet. One only just question, Rob, and I don't know if it matters to this application. He made mention about the ejector pump.
Yeah, is that shown on the plan?
No, my question relative to that is that
Yes.
does that have a generator attached to it? Is it electric?
That's a great question.
Here's the generator right here.
It will, at the very least, will need its own battery backup
Great.
and a backup alarm. E1 makes pretty much a pre-packaged unit, and you can have that wired where it's got its own battery backup. Those things use about as much electricity as a light bulb over the course of a year.
Great.
So it's very low energy.
Now, was that part of this application? Because, or is it?
Yes, it's, we
Okay.
call it out PR E1 pump model DH071. The circle that designates that, it's right next to on the northern side of the house, where it's kind of a roundish shape. It's just to the right of that, you see a little circle.
Okay. So
In the field, it's only about 30 inches in diameter. It's not very big, so most people miss it if they were to walk past it.
okay, so we just have to make sure that pump has a backup system so it works in case of a power outage, right?
Yes.
And your client's okay with that?
Yes, we
Okay.
discussed that as part of this application because because this is a forced low pressure system, they have to go with a system like that. They can't do a gravity line into the shared main.
Got it, okay. As long as we're on the same page. That's my only question. Is there anyone in the audience that would like, in the general public, like to speak to this application? I don't see anybody in the chat room, and I don't see anybody telling us. So I would entertain a motion to close. Is that Kara? You get a motion to close?
Motion to close?
Looking for a second from Larry.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Application is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I like this format. I advocate going forward even after the quarantine.
Well, we want to see your beard in person next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up for bid. We're supposed to give this back to you? Give me 1 second. I might have screwed this up.
It's okay. I'll just reprint it. Thank you. Beautiful, thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have, everyone's with us still? Coastal Site Plan Review Number 213C, Land Filling and Regrading Application Number 186A, Special Permit Application Number 311, 20 Juniper LLC, 20 Juniper Road. Proposal to construct a new 30 by 60 pickleball sports court with associated lighting on the east side of the property. Install 2 approximately 6 by 12 landscape areas in the existing asphalt driveway. Install an outdoor spa at the southwest corner of the residence. Install an approximate 13 by 28 pergola and a gravelled bluestone terrace on the east side of the existing swimming pool. Install an entrance gate and stone pillars directly adjacent to Juniper Road, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. This 7.07 plus minus acre subject property is located on the northern terminus of Juniper Road, approximately 1,285 feet east of its intersection with Nearwater Lane, and is shown on Assessor's Map number 57 as lot number 12-1 in the R1 zone. Tonight we have with us Wilder Gleason, representing the applicant. Jeremy.
Sure, just a couple things to point out, that this hearing was originally opened on March 24th, and it was immediately continued to tonight. We did, because this is a coastal site plan review, the property's right on the water, we did refer it to the state of Connecticut DEEP, who emailed back that they reviewed the application for consistency with the applicable policies of the Connecticut Coastal Management Act and have not found any inconsistencies in the proposal. So what we're going to do is turn the screen around so everybody can see Attorney Gleason, and he'll take it from here.
Tonight we have Attorney Gleason with us, representing the applicant. There he is, clean as day.
I hope you all can see this. And if you can't, I did submit PDFs, and Fred should have them and be able to put them up on the screen so you can see them. Copies of every exhibit that I've got have been submitted, both in PDFs and in hard copies. Hopefully Jeremy was able to distribute them.
Can you just say your name for the record?
Wilder Gleason, Gleason and Associates, representing 20 Juniper Lane LLC. This is a 7-acre property at the end of Juniper Road. It has, you'll see the survey that I've outlined, the property line in orange. And one of the notable features is that about 3 acres on the northern portion of it, which I've crosshatched in green on the survey, are subject to a conservation easement in favor of the Darien Land Trust. And then the rest of the development was approved for Flip Hufford and his wife about 10 years ago. And the house is about 7,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, with a 3-car garage, which I've colored in yellow on the survey. And there's an existing pool in the southeast corner. One of the notable features is that there's the conservation easement has lots of trees on the north side and on the east side, and the trees actually extend down along the pool. If you've been out to the site, you will notice that. So there's a natural screening on the north and east sides. And the 4 acres that are comprised, left over, are subject to a flood zone. It's an AE elevation 14 flood zone, which I've dashed in blue around basically the perimeter of the developed site area, the lawn, is where the flood zone is. The proposal that we have before you tonight, the other thing I want to point out is that the second exhibit I have, which is a compilation assessor map. I put 2 assessor maps together. This is our property. This is the Fisk property at the other end of Juniper Road, which comes down here. This is Goodwives River, and across we have Pear Tree Point School and some houses here. But the closest residence we have is the Fisk residence, and that's about 450 feet away from the current residence. So we are about as distant from any neighboring house as you could be and still be in a 1 acre zone in town. And we have the conservation easement on this area. So again, I showed the pool, the house, the garage, and the pool. What we're proposing is in the landscape plan which was submitted, and I don't know if Fred can put that up or how we're working with this, but this is the heart of the application except for the entry gate, which is something we submitted a couple of weeks ago. But
Wilder, I'm sorry, this is Fred Donat. I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. The supplementary materials that you're referring to and that you're presenting right now were included in commissioners' packets, and they were posted to the Planning and Zoning website, but I do not have them at the moment to display them on the screen. I can try to go in, pull them, and display them now. It's going to take me a couple minutes to pull them down, though.
well,
Fred, I think all the commissioners have it, so I think we're in good shape at the current point. And this, everything on TV 79, everything that Wild has is very visible on TV 79.
But just for clarity, Gleason, would it be possible for you to just describe, since we can't, it's very difficult to see what's on the easel, if you could just say what document or what exhibit you're referencing to?
yeah,
that
this
we
is
can
the
in our
landscape
packet-
plan.
Okay, we can do that. That's LP1, Karen.
Thank you.
The landscape plan LP1. Perfect. That's highlighted, it's colored. If you have that in your packet, you should have it. It was my submission of last Thursday.
We have it.
Okay.
I'm sure I have it. It just makes it easier if it's just,
Yeah.
so I know which one to turn to. Thank you.
Okay, this is the heart of what we're doing, okay? And it lays everything out. So the most important piece is the pickleball court, which is the largest pink area that's located east of the house and north of the pool. And this is about a 32 by 62 foot area. Pickleball's a growing sport that can be played year round. It's like paddle tennis, but it is not a tennis court. It's a smaller court, substantially smaller. And it's more forgiving than tennis. And so the applicant proposes to put a pickleball court located east of the house. And I think the most controversial part, let me go through the pieces, okay? There's the pickleball court, there's a pergola that is to provide some shading on the east side of the pool. There is some small cutouts in the existing entry courtyard. There are more for landscaping and aesthetic purposes right up here north of the house. We have another spa proposed on the southeast corner of the house, this pink block. And there's a gas fire pit that's proposed just immediately south of the main house patio. The only other piece is the entry gates, which are going to be located near Juniper, the turnaround on Juniper Road. We'll get to those. That's drawing SK5 is the last exhibit that I submitted, okay? So we'll get to that later. Yeah, that one that Fred's got up now is the one I'm talking, that's, you know what, that was the original survey, okay, that you see. And the entry gate would be located, it's shown on the drawing SK5 as being 30 feet from the Juniper Road. We've been in discussions just today to move that back to meet the front yard setback at 40 feet, and then we could have 6-foot pillars. And I think that's what we're likely to do. But that's, that we're proposing an entry gate on the, about 30 feet right now from Juniper Road. We probably are going to pull that back, and that will allow the Darien Land Trust access to the conservation easement area and make it easier for them to get into that area without interfering with some other fences that are on the property line. So I think that's where we're going to wind up. We just had that discussion today.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna hold off on my question on that, but go ahead.
okay, turning back to the landscape plan. I don't know, Fred, if you can put that up.
Just to be clear, folks, that's depicted as overall site development plan,
Yeah,
LP1, not landscape plan.
LP10 overall site development plan. It's a progress issue for review. And we talked about the pickleball court, the pergola, the spa, and the cutouts in the driveway, the courtyard, and the fire pit. The biggest concern I think that people will have is the lighting on the pickleball court. And the original plans called for us to have 8 light fixtures on 20-foot poles. And we have modified those.
Which is what the plan says.
And that's what this plan shows. It shows 4 light fixtures on each side, the east and west sides of the pickleball court. The plans we submitted just this past week, we asked the lighting designer at Patco to see if they could do something to lower the poles. They found a new light fixture, which is on the screen now, which will allow us, and that the cut sheet, the manufacturer's cut sheet was part of the submission last Friday. That will allow us to reduce the number of lights from 8 down to 4, and to reduce the pole height from 20 feet down to 15 feet. So we're going from 8 20-foot light fixtures to 4 15-foot light fixtures. And the illumination is apparently very similar to what there was before, and there was a letter submitted with the filing from Patco, the lighting designer, basically saying that within 70 feet of the pickleball court, you wind up with the lighting that would be essentially a moonlit night, 0.1 foot candles.
Okay, and just to confirm, the letter is dated April 15th, 2020, or 2020, correct?
Correct.
And it's signed by Gary,
Novacell.
thank you.
Gary Novacell.
Keep going.
So, the other thing, our biggest concern, frankly, is that we're confident that the existing landscaping, the trees that are in the conservation easement area and the trees that are on the east side of the pickleball court will screen the lighting from nearby property owners on the north and east side. On the west side, the house will screen that pickleball lighting because the house is taller than the 15-foot lights. And the only concern would be south and southwest. And the closest house to us is Bob Fisk's house. And I submitted as part of the package an email from Bob Fisk saying that he had no objections, or basically they were not going to stand in the way of our development And that email is dated March 24th. I highlighted the text in the submission that I sent last Friday. And Bob had seen the earlier lighting plans with 20-foot poles and 8 fixtures. So he's going to have even less concern now that we've dropped the poles down to 15 feet and reduced the number of light fixtures to 4. I would add that the landscape plan calls for removal of 4 trees, which you see at the bottom of the landscape plan. Fred, it's the next one, that's the assessor's map. Yeah, that one, okay? If you all look south of the house, directly south, you'll see 4 trees that have X's in them. Those are 4 cedar trees, which we intend to remove because they block the view substantially. They really interfere with it. And I have a picture that shows that, but let me just go through the lighting plan, the landscape plan a little bit more, because you'll see over to the south and a little bit west of the house, there's 3 large trees located near the 10 and 15 foot contours. And those are really big trees. They're 6-inch caliper trees. So they're going to be minimum 20 feet high when they're installed. And they're in the direction that light would travel to the Fisk residence. So in addition to dropping the poles down, we are designing this so that the landscaping plan is to minimize impact on the most directly affected neighbor, who already signed off on it. There are more than 20 trees proposed in the plant list that was submitted, and we've got over 1,600 plants identified, shrubs and other perennials being installed. And I'm told by the landscape architect that we're now over 2,000 plants, and we've increased the number of trees. So we're going to be doing a lot more.
Can you, I hate to interrupt.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the 7 trees that are on the, I want to call it the right side of the paddle tennis court?
Yes, if you look at the landscape plan, there are 7 trees located on the east side, and they will supplement the existing screening of deciduous trees that are on, largely deciduous trees that are along the buffer perimeter of the property on the east side, so that those trees will additionally screen it. Now, those are more, not huge trees, but they are low enough that they will interfere with the light that's migrating towards the east.
This says they're 2.5 to 3-inch caliber trees?
Yes.
Okay, so the one thing I try to make sure that you mentioned is that your closest neighbor to the east is on the other side of the water.
Yes, that was shown in the assessor's compilation map, my second exhibit, where here's our, Fred, if you can pull that up, it's the one before this, I believe.
As you mentioned, it's across from Pear Tree Point School.
Right.
It's north of Darien Boat Club.
Yeah, we're well north of Darien Boat Club, and well, if the commissioners can look at their packages, there's the it's an 11 by 17 composite assessor's map. It should be the after the survey and before the landscape plan. In any event, it shows where the houses are located, and the closest house is the Fisk house, and you've got to cross the river to get to the nearest houses there, and they're more than 500 feet away. So,
referring to documents as could be between this or after this, can we have exhibits and materials labeled and then refer to them as their label? So that
you know, that's a very good suggestion, and I apologize for not doing that.
I just don't know what you're referencing to.
That's the assessor's map that's on the screen right now. Okay, that's the composite assessor's map. And you see our lot is
And
this,
in
the
your
one in
pa-
the center.
And in your package, it's labeled as which document?
It's labeled as, I think I referenced it as composite assessor's map in my cover letter.
Yes, compilation assessor map, it was,
She's looking for which document.
yeah, it's, small, 11 by 17.
It's an 11 by 17 assessor's map. It was this, after the survey in the enclosures.
Yeah, might have got it copied out of order.
That may not have been the order that we received them in.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
I think that was,
I apologize. But if you look at that, Carol, were you able to find it?
Not in my packet, but I can see it because Fred, pulled it up from the website and put it online, so I can see it.
Okay, so,
I'll take notes on the other document.
okay, if you look to the southwest of our site, there's a lot that's labeled Fisk. I wrote that in on the Fisk lot. And that is the area, that's the closest house, that's about 450 feet away. And so,
Steve, it's about halfway into the back.
Yeah, I think it's on this thing.
so there aren't, that's the closest house, and that neighbor has said they have no objections.
Got it.
And by closest house, you're meaning closest house to the trees that are being removed? Or,
No, I mean closest to our residence, and actually closest to the pickleball court.
but will they be the most impacted by the pickleball? And I get what you mean by closest, but, it's a unique property, and so I think, maybe neighbors or, stakeholders who are further away may be impacted, because of the uniqueness of the property is sort of what I'm wondering.
I got you 100%. That's why I brought that up earlier. Kara, if you go to the packet of information, that the first page is called Pickleball Court, 20 Juniper Road.
Okay. The original one or the newer one?
The newer one.
No, I think it's the original one, the one without the photometrics.
No, I said, the new one had photometrics for the 15-foot.
Right, I want
And
the
that was
original one.
submitted along with the assessor's.
Original one?
The original
Okay.
one.
Without the glossies?
Correct.
Okay, got it, yep.
So first page is Pickleball Court. If you go about 6 pages back, you're gonna get the
Right after the
compilation map, which is the tax map taped together.
Oh, that's great. Thank
Okay,
you.
so the point being, well, this is for you. You keep talking about tax lot 13, which is the Fisk
Yes.
property to the south.
Right.
The person that's gonna be impacted the most is tax lot 21, which is across the water,
Yeah.
okay? Tax lot 13 below it is,
I completely agree.
that's Pear Tree Point School,
Tax lot 21,
correct, which is across the water.
I'm looking at,
Their address is 86 Pear Tree Point Road.
okay. Actually, you're not gonna, the screening that you have here now. Yeah.
I want to help you out.
Yeah,
That house has got a direct look at the pickleball courts, but what I wanted to ask and point out is they're putting in the 7 new trees to block the pickleball court, which are 2.5 to 3 inch calibers. Do we know how tall those trees will grow?
I don't know that. If you want, we could, the lighting,
And was a person like that notified?
no, we were not obliged to notify these people across the way.
Did or not?
Did not. You did not.
No,
notify them.
it's more than 100 feet, way more than 100 feet. And let me just see,
Do you see what I'm getting at, Wilder?
yep, the 7 malice fruiting specimens.
Right. It says,
It's a fruiting apple, 2.5 to 3 inch caliper.
how tall do they get?
I don't know how tall.
Okay.
My impression from talking to the landscape designer Douglas Clark of Janice Parker was that they would get between 25 to 30 feet.
Okay. To the east of those new trees,
Yep,
there's a whole pack of trees that are on the site plan.
those are existing trees.
Right. I have not been out there, but are those densely filled in, to your knowledge?
There's a lot of deciduous trees. I don't think there's some, I believe there's
Just
some
point to them on the map, so we're
in here.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a fair number of deciduous trees. There's also a grade change. There's like a 4-foot grade change as you go up from the elevation of the pickleball court. It gets higher in that area.
So the pickleball court's below.
The pickleball court's at 18, and you're getting up to, at the edge of the conservation easement, we've got 22, 23, 22 feet in this area right over here. So it's, and then,
Okay, I see what you're doing. I got you.
yeah, that's on the northeast of the pickleball court. Directly east, it's about the same elevation as the pickleball court.
Okay. Keep going with your presentation. You want to roll before I interrupt.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we've got 7 trees that are going to, we think, materially block the light going to the east. And then the only other piece of this that's really important is the stormwater management in CAM. There's a letter from from Holt McCord's office saying all we need to do is treat for water quality. There's a design of some Cultex down near the pergola, which will treat the water quality. They've got a storage capacity of 200 cubic feet when 180 is required. And Bill Kenny has submitted a report on CAM indicating that there's no adverse coastal impacts, so that we meet the requirements for your section 810 regulations. And the Nelson report, or the McCord report, indicates that there's no adverse drainage impacts on the river or any downstream properties. Basically, the water's flowing into the Good Wives River and eventually into Long Island Sound, and we're treating for water quality.
Okay, and the letter from McCord Engineering is from Harry Rochefeld.
Yeah,
That's
he's
the bottom
engineer
line
in
is,
training.
the opinion of this office that the proposed site development will have no adverse impacts on the Good Wives River estuary or downstream properties. That's this. That letter is dated Valentine's Day, 2020. That's my daughter's birthday, if everyone wants that for the record. February 14th. Okay? And then the other letter that you just referenced was
From Bill Kenny, dated Valentine's Day as well, and he indicated essentially that there's no adverse coastal impacts.
and that is
It's a 7-page letter, and there's no potential adverse impacts on coastal resources or future water-dependent development.
and that's the letter from William Kennedy and Associates LLC, soil scientist.
Yeah, it's 7 pages.
We appreciate the fact that you did not bring in all of your engineers tonight.
I do have them available by cell phone if you have questions.
Thank you, sir. Anything else to add?
No.
Okay, Jeremy, did we miss anything?
No, I can't, I think that covers it. If I think of anything, I'll chime in, but I think that covers everything.
Okay, I want to open it up to the commissioners. Do you guys want to see me, or you want to see Wilder? You want to see Boo? Or see nobody? George Riley, any questions, sir?
I bet Wilder could help me compare the lighting to the high school. And I spent an awful lot of time dealing with the lights at the high school. And I know what we've ended up with. How tall are they at the high school now? You happen to know, Wilder?
I can try to answer that a little bit. Unless you want to hear.
I have no information about the high school because I really wasn't involved in that.
They're more than 20, I want to say 30 plus.
And my recollection is that those things are 35 to 40 feet tall.
Okay.
One of the items of note relative to lights, and I remember this specifically, at the high school, there are ghost lights that point up to the moon or to the sky, and that's when a kicker kicks the ball up higher above the height of the lights, so you can still see the ball. In the instance of pickleball, these stanchions are 15 feet high, and in most instances, if they are being used at night, a pickleball person does not knock the ball more than 15 or 16 feet high. Is my understanding of it? Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
That's a good.
So these lights do not have lights. Correct if I'm wrong. That point up to the moon.
That's correct. All the lights are directed down. They're shielded from view. No neighbor will see the light source at any time, and all they'll see is the reflected glow off of the court surface. And that dissipates as you get further from the court, and once you're 100 feet away, according to the photometric studies, there's no light 3 feet above the ground. Once you're 100 feet away, there's no light.
Steve, I do remember my question.
Okay.
Okay, that's a helpful frame of reference for me. Thank you.
And let me add, too, that we're talking about at 70 feet away, it's as if you're in a full moon, okay? That's the light. It's 0.1 foot candles. And what you see when you're looking at a mirror in a bathroom is about 30 foot candles for a frame of reference.
And
Wait,
then,
can you say that again? I don't understand that at all.
you can say it again.
Let me just repeat it. If you're looking in front of a mirror doing makeup or brushing your hair or whatever you're doing, shaving, you usually have about 30 foot candles. The court will be more brightly lit than that. It'll be about 42 foot candles average. However, as you get 70 feet away, it gets down to 0.1 foot candles, which, according to the letter that we submitted from the lighting designer, is the light that you see on a moonlit night, a full moon.
What kind of moonlit? Not like a full moon?
Yep,
Harvest moon? Like,
a full moon.
my kids, like, if you have elementary school kids, you go, they do these moon journals. So, like, I'm well versed in the moon.
Well, as you get to 100 feet away, there's 0 foot candles.
Really?
Yes, that's what the lighting designer's photometric studies show, and that's without considering.
Water?
Yeah, there's 0 foot candles 3 feet above the ground at 100 feet away from the light pickleball court, and that is without considering the landscaping that we do or the impact that the existing trees north of the in the conservation easement area and to the east of the property have, and the impact that the house itself does on blocking light's movement. So
Does the proximity to the water have any impact? Like, just like house would have impact to reduce the light impact, as would trees and other sort of natural barriers, would the water and reflection off of the water source, because it's sort of bound on 3 sides by water, would that have any impact? And I don't know
I imagine it would. We all have seen reflected light off of water.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I think there's also houses along that section of town that are closer to the water than this pickleball court is. Are you good, George Riley?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to Kara Gately. Kara Gately, any questions?
Yeah. So, do we know, and I guess it's sort of like, I only asked this because George brought up the high school lights, which I sort of didn't even really consider, but, so those are probably what we're thinking, 30, 35 feet. These were originally proposed at 20 feet, are now, they found a new alternative that can be at 15 feet. How many light posts are there at the football field? I would think there are more than 8 and 4.
There's only 4 at the high school.
So for the pickleball court, we're thinking 4 as well?
Correct.
As for the high school?
Correct.
Football field?
But the difference in those two, Kara, is on top of the light stanchions at the high school, there's more, there's 4 stanchions at the high school, there's 4 stanchions at this property. At the high school, there's more lights on top of each individual stanchion. That's the
Okay, but
that's the difference.
pointing up and down, where these are just pointing down.
Correct.
We have 1 fixture per pole. There's only
Okay.
1 light fixture, and the sample of it is in your package.
Thank you. And getting to the trees. So the trees that they're considering, I know we talked about it, and your presentation, addresses, the caliber of them, but not sort of what particular type of tree they are. Are we thinking they're deciduous or evergreen trees?
They're deciduous.
Which trees are you talking about? We talked about the 3.
They will only then provide coverage during certain parts of the year.
Well,
Correct?
the ones on the east side are deciduous. They're fruiting apples. During the summer months, they will be in full bloom, but during the winter, they will have tree branches which will impede the light. They have a reducing impact on it.
Even without being in full bloom, they're anticipated to have a light reducing impact, even when they're not in full bloom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they will reduce it, not nearly to the extent that when they're in bloom or when they have leaves.
Okay. And anticipating, I guess with the high school, which is sort of the precedent, at least in my experience, I can think of dealing with lights like, and granted, it's not nearly to the same intensity or.
Let me interrupt you 1 second, Kara.
Yeah.
In terms of precedents, I think the one that we're also going to look towards is the Manila family application with the hockey rink. They have light poles on it.
It's on
Quite.
horseshoe.
So I guess with those, and I'm wondering, with the high school, and I don't know about the Manila property, but I believe I recall that there was a special permit or there was some sort of application or restrictions put in with respect to usage and activities and sort of like times and dates and sort of things like that. I know those sort of restrictions were put in place both for the high school and I believe for the Manila property, but I could be wrong on that, so I would need to go back and check that to be accurate for the record. Would the usage of the pickleball court be considered, with full year round, 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year, regardless of the tree and how blooming they were and the impact on neighbors, or sort of what's the thinking on that? And I know it's early, and I look back at the other precedent myself, so I'm just asking the question.
We'd be happy to stipulate that during school nights, Sunday through Thursday, we will have the lights off by 10:30, and on weekend nights, Friday and Saturday, we'd like the privilege to play to midnight.
Okay. We'll take that under consideration, and we'll probably pull the Manila application just to check that one too. We can serve on deliberations.
We are different from Manila. Manila was in a tight 1 acre zone, cheek by jowl, and it's hockey, which is way different from what we're doing. This is 4 people, basically adults, and we're 450 feet from the nearest house. Yeah, it's not noise, it's not, and so I'd like a little flexibility here, and I think that 10:30 during school nights and midnight on weekends is something I actually discussed with the owners, and he said, that's fine.
It's not 7 on 7.
Yeah, it's, you know,
It's a little different.
yeah.
What's
Um,
Is it the lights or is it the noise? Like, I just don't, you know.
I don't get it.
Well, hold on. Let's just keep going on this one with Kara first. With regards to school nights, does that also count for the summer?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
That's year round.
Year round. Okay. Any more questions from Kara?
No, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Jeremy has something to add.
Well, I think one thing I spoke to Wilder about was the time, whether they would be on timers to go off or programmed, or it would just be the homeowner that turns them on and off.
You know, I think if you put a stipulation in, the homeowner's gonna honor it. I mean, you know, whether it's the timer or not, if some neighbor complains and it's late, then you guys have an enforcement, you know, you can write letters, etc. There's a way to deal with that, and I think those are reasonable hours. We're not pushing the envelope. We're not going 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock.
You can keep the pool open. There's no times on the pool.
Right, there's no times on the pool, and the party will continue.
You good, Jeremy?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Carrie, you good? Let's move on to the next person. Jennifer Leahy.
I think I'm good. I mean, if everyone else feels comfortable with those hours.
Okay. We can deliberate it. He offered up, the turnaround is 10:30 shut off, Monday to Friday or
No, Sunday to Thursday.
Sunday to Thursday, and then midnight on weekends, and that goes for 12 months out of the year. We can deliberate that when we deliberate if we have any other questions.
Okay.
Okay, are you good? Any more
I'm
questions,
good then, yeah.
Jennifer? Okay, let's go to Jim Rand. Any questions, Jim?
I'm okay. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Larry Warble?
Thank you. Yeah, Kara really got to my questions around the trees and the seasonality. But I guess the only question I don't know if there's going to be an answer. Do we know how visible this would be to someone across the river at 21 Pear Tree Point Road?
Well, I want to flip that to Wilder. This is your most recent survey dated on February 10th?
Those are the photometrics.
Correct. That's
And
what
what they show is that once you get more than 100 feet from the perimeter of the pickleball court, and make sure you've got the right ones,
Right,
because
can
there's
you
two
tell
sets.
us? Can you tell us where that is inside this application? I didn't see that.
In my April 17
well,
letter,
Thank you. Does this package that has 8, maybe you can see 8 stanchions and things like that, is this just irrelevant now? Because
That's
it's not
irrelevant.
before?
you want to look at the more recent one, which says pickleball court lighting, court lighting and surrounding area photometric, but it's there were 3 or 4 pages that I submitted, and in the legend it says tech light 18 and 18 feet above grade. In the lower right corner of the first page, it says 15 foot and 18 foot lighting. So Steve, right where your hand is.
Yeah, it's dated
March 23rd.
March 23rd,
Yeah.
2020.
March 23rd.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to page 2 of that packet,
Drawing L2,
that's got the 4 stanchions.
and drawing L2 is the extended photometrics. If you look at that, and it shows what the lighting is in 10-foot boxes. So if you look to the east of the pickleball court, you'll see 10 feet away from stanchion 4A, it's 20-foot candles.
Thank you.
And then as you go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 feet, it's 0.1 foot candles. Okay? And then you go to 100 and it's 0 foot candles.
So that's page L2.
L2, the right side of that is all zeros, 0 foot candles. That is 100 feet basically from the pickleball court. And then you look to the west, and if the house were not there, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90 feet away, even without the house there, it's 0.1 and 0. So, and in some areas it gets to 70 feet away and it's 0.1. So that's the photometric study, and that's measuring 3 feet above the ground, according to the analysis. And it doesn't take into effect any of the screening that we have. The existing trees on the east side and north side and the house. And the significant trees we're going to be installing in the southwest corner.
Okay. Any other questions, Larry?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for putting that out.
We're missing George.
George Riley, did I call on you yet?
I don't. Thank you. I'm set.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, would anybody in the public domain like to speak to this application? Oops. All right. Fred, we have 4 people in the chat box right now.
Okay, I am.
Lauren and Porter Collins, and Jennifer. Can you?
There's no new comments here.
Okay, that's from
Unless-
our application. Okay. I have no further questions of this witness.
I have a question if we're taking questions.
Sure, please state your name for the record.
That's Jeff DeGraff, live at 102 Pear Tree Point. And I guess the question would be, why not just put evergreens up of the...
That's something we're doing.
Hold on.
Hold on, we're having technical difficulties. Is that you, TV79? No, maybe it was me. You should be off, right?
Okay, try it now.
Okay, try your question again, sir.
Yeah, the question being the concerns around the lighting, and I get the candle lights, but the candle lights are really about if you had a book and were trying to read 100 feet away, you couldn't do it. The reality is if you were looking across the water, you'd still be able to see the lights. And the question, my question, and hopefully can be answered, is why not just put evergreens up where it wouldn't impact people across the water? That would be year round, and frankly, at that point, then even the curfew doesn't tend to matter. Instead of apple trees, putting up evergreens, which would block this 365 days a year, would be both better for the light impact and the noise impact, frankly.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to put the evergreens immediately east of the court. It would be my suggestion we put evergreens, if we're going to, on the eastern edge of the lawn area. And I'd want to consult with our landscaper to come up with a plan if we need to deal with this. I'm happy to consult with them and propose something if that makes sense for people to consider.
Okay, because there's an existing tree line there. So if what I'm hearing you say is that you would entertain the thought of putting additional evergreens in front of that existing tree line?
So I want to talk to the landscape designer about what makes sense. And I'd like to know this, I'm not sure who the questioner is. and where they live. I'd like
Mr.
to know
DeGraff
whether,
at 102 Pear Tree Point, Wilder, I have the map here. 102 is just south of Pear Tree Point School.
Yeah, I see 94, I see 98, I see 106.
I see
102 is
106.
behind 94 and 98.
Got it, yep. Okay, I see it.
And
Correct.
we also own the island by the boat club to the south, so directly impacted by that.
Nice.
okay, so you're south of where the pickleball court would be located.
Southeast.
Southeast. Let me see if there's something we can do
Here.
about that.
His line is says from here.
My concern is that we have right now a very nice view that we'd like to preserve, and if we've got the lights with hours of operation so that it's not noxious, it seems to me there's a balancing of equities here. I'm happy to look at it and see what we can do to reduce impact on your view of the pickleball court lights, but I want to talk to the landscape designer and come back.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I think evergreen you're going to be compromised.
He might be in his what my suggestion to you is, if you take a view from this side too,
Yep.
at certain points up, you're gonna look through the paddleball courts and see the house.
Yep.
We don't have any regular, you can put as many lights on the house as you wanted to,
Right,
right? So the house could be lit up like a Christmas tree, but the pickleball court's here,
right.
right? So
So I'll take a look at that. I mean, my sense is that the pickleball court will be between the garage and the house, and but we'll see what we can do to reduce impact on you.
see, that's why, because the pickleball court wasn't there, and I did lights on the top of the house.
Yeah,
I'm seeing the house instead of that.
right. There's nothing you can do about that.
No.
I mean, you're not going to regulate that.
No, I mean, I
So-
like seeing
and-
houses from more.
And the house lights could be up at 30 feet as opposed to 15. So I'm happy to look at it. I know my client's not going to be happy with the delay, but we will do what we can do to see if there's a way we can address your concern.
Okay. Does that satisfy you, sir? At this point?
Yeah, that's fine. Appreciate the help.
Thank you. Is anybody else?
Say, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have one question. It's John O'Brien, representing the Darien Land Trust. Wilder, in the beginning, you had started to discuss the entrance gate and where that might be moved. I don't know if you wanted to finish that thought or.
Yes.
John, I think what's going to happen, John.
Further consideration.
John, we will be changing moving it back, so I believe, so that it, based on what Paul Rabacha sent you in an email today with a copy to me, I think Paul would like to have 6-foot entry gate and pillars. To do that, we have to be back 40 feet from Juniper Road, and if that allows the land trust access without tearing down a fence, that is what he wants and what you want, and I'm confident with this delay to address the lighting, we can probably pin that down with you in a way so that we have a final location that works for you and works for us.
Yeah, that's great. I understand. Putting it 40 feet, by the way, that there would be no blockage to the left of the gate because it's open field. It's good woods, meadow. So that really wouldn't act as a security gate for you. If you went down to the point where the driveway took a turn to the right, then there's no getting around the security gate. So it'll become obvious when you.
Well, what we'll do is we'll figure this out, and I know that Paul will be supportive of your continued access to the conservation easement area, meaning in a way that doesn't require you to tear down a fence and put it back up when you're done. We're not going to do
Understand.
that.
Great.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
I'm going to have the applicant go back to that thing. Marla, can you pull out Thompson Ray's architect's plan, which is the SK5?
Yes, I
Two
can.
documents. And the next page is Design Gate, which is SK5A.
Right, that is, we only submitted that in 11 by 17. So,
Okay, commissioners, it's called, Thompson, I'm gonna say Raises Architects, 20 Juniper LLC, partial site plan, gates and stone piers, SK5 is the document that we're gonna talk about for the next couple seconds or minutes. Hopefully everybody can get that. I'm gonna go first.
sure.
I'm looking at where Juniper Road meets your property.
Yes,
Okay, there's a circle there. And it says electric vault. It says 50 feet, 1 inches. I think that's the radius. And then from that point, it says 30 feet, 1 inches, goes to where the pillars are.
correct.
You keep talking about 40 feet from the street.
Right, so the pillars that are shown on this SK5 are 4 feet high. If you
Okay.
look at the second drawing, they meet the zoning regs because they're within the front yard setback and they can't exceed 4 feet.
Got it.
What was discussed is if we pull the pillars back so that they're 40 feet away from Juniper Road, the turnaround here, actually,
But see, my point is that right now, from what I'm reading, it's 80 feet back.
yeah, it's 80 feet back, so we probably could do it at that. But the hatched area is reserved for street realignment. I can't imagine that happening, but it's reserved, so
There is the potential.
there's a potential so that if we were to, right now it's not, we own it. But it's reserved, so I don't know, Jeremy, whether we'd have to go 40 feet from the reserved area to be
Usually,
100%, we probably would have to do that.
it would be best, so something doesn't come up.
Yeah.
This Jeremy Ginsburg, for the record, usually in a case like this, you'd measure from the property line,
Right.
not necessarily from the edge of the paved road. So in this case, looks like their property line is the straight line there.
Yep.
But certainly you'd leave your client flexibility down the road. If this ever does get constructed, they'd have to move the pillars. So,
Well, it may be also, it's legally non-conforming because it meets the regs now.
and then
If it
something
were
changes.
6 feet, and if it gets widened, the odds of it getting widened are pretty remote because conservation easements have taken over and all the development at this end we're maxed. There's no more lots that are going to be developed here. So what you see is what you get, and I think the idea, what we have now is what we're likely to have going on in the future.
Okay, can I back
So-
up for a second there?
So-
Where's this conservation easement on this map that you're talking about?
All right, the conservation easement is, you've got to go around the tidal lagoon and the tidal wetlands.
Right.
And you'll see up on the upper right corner, there's a dashed line,
Oh, yeah.
and then above that it says conserve easement. That's the conservation easement area,
Okay,
okay?
so,
And for a little further clarification, there are the 2 conservation easements that are in favor of the land trust. But to the left of the driveway, immediately, is a property we own that's called Goodwives Meadow. And that's 3 or 4 acres. And it's the open meadow. And my point was, if you put a security gate with a meadow open completely to the left side, it's not keeping anybody out.
If you look at the assessor's, compilation assessor's map, it would be the lot that's immediately to the left of our property.
is it street number 116, lot 2.12?
Yeah, I think it's 12-2. John, if you look at the screen,
16 Juniper Road.
I got you. I see where you're going. Yep.
so, and that was a lot that was potentially developable. It was given to the land trust, and so there's no need to widen the circle, I think, is what has happened here. So,
So my concern is moving the thing back so it gets out of away from the land trust people.
we will work out with the land trust so that they have access to our easement. That's not, Paul Rapace has already committed to that in an email yesterday.
Okay.
So, John,
Yeah, I think it's fairly
we'll work that
logical.
out.
Thank you.
Okay. So am I here that we're leaving this thing open?
I think we're leaving this open so that we can look at evergreen screening to reduce impact on neighbors on the east side, which was not something I anticipated would be a concern.
Oh, sorry.
Which is
We didn't
why
get
we do these things.
It was across the water, right? Okay, and then you're also gonna go back to, so we're gonna get further clarification on this, Thompson Raises Architects.
Yeah, SK5, we'll work that out with John and the land trust so that we have something that's,
While we have you, just for one more second, can you just talk about the second page, which is the height of these pillars we're talking about?
yes,
So we can do it. Right now, I'm on SK5A. If you look, those lighted fixtures on the left-hand side, it says that they're, it looks like it's 4 feet tall. But why does it go 7 feet too? That's underground?
oh, yeah, those are underground, that's the block that you need to put in to hold the gates.
Okay. So it's 4 feet above grade, 3 feet below grade. They're
Yep.
lighted fixtures.
Lighted fixtures on top.
It's a 17, it's a 14, 16, 18 foot wide gate.
Yeah, 7 and 7, well, plus, it's really about 14 feet
Right.
of paved area that we're talking
And
about.
18, it's 18 feet wide on center, I think?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So your plan at this point is to make those things 6 feet tall?
Yeah, we probably would make those 6 feet, but we're going to have to relocate them to give the land trust the access they need. And we'll come back with that revised plan. If you give us a couple of weeks, I think we could probably do this.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's pick a day.
All right. So commissioners, we're gonna leave this open for 2 reasons. One is this screening. Sorry, man. One's the screening on the water side that's on Braintree Point and Long Neck Point Road, and 2 is this gate entrance. So with that said, does anybody else have any questions for Wilder before we pick a new date? And I'm speaking to the commissioners now.
All good, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Jeremy,
We would be looking at Tuesday, May 5th, 8 p.m. in room 119 of Town Hall, as well as via GoToMeeting. So it would be 2 weeks from tonight, I believe,
does that give you enough time?
May 5th.
It should, and if for some reason I need more time, I'll just ask for it.
Okay,
to continue.
So for those neighbors or those who are interested, there'll be no additional written notice. That this notice will serve as this hearing will be continued to Tuesday, May 5th at 8 p.m.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good. We're gonna move on then.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes the public hearing. We're now gonna go into the general meeting. The first item in the general meeting is possible, deliveries and possible decisions on the following. Special permit number 310, Darien Shoe Repair. If you guys can bear with me for 1 second. Get my documents in a row. No, I got my original here. We got buried without it. Sugar spice.
For agenda?
No, my documents. Let's go around the horn while I'm looking for stuff. Jennifer Leahy, any comments, questions to the draft from the Darien Shoe Repair?
Check. I don't think I have any.
Okay,
No.
we can come back to you. Jim Rand, any questions on Darien Shoe Repair? Jim Rand?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Next up, Larry Warble. Any questions on Darien Shoe Repair?
No questions.
Okay. After Larry Warble, we have Carrie Gately.
No questions. Love it. It's great.
Okay. George Riley.
All good.
Okay. My only item was if you look at the location, we may not be able to change it. It says it's on the corner of Norotan Avenue and Post Road. It's actually on the corner of Garden City Street.
Yes, we can do that. We can include that in the property location. It's would be at the northwest corner, formed by the intersection with Garden City.
Correct.
Steve, ironic that you noticed the,
Garden City, huh? You caught that, Kara. It's very important to me, that little town.
I know.
There we go. Okay. I can't find my other markup, so I think.
Just at the northwest corner.
Right, yeah, because it
Yes,
said
northwest.
northwest of New Roten Avenue, so go the other way. Okay. Any other changes?
No.
With that one change, I would take a motion to approve from George Riley.
So moved. Thank you.
Second from Kara Gately.
So seconded.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Perfect.
6-0.
Moving on to the next one, coastal site plan review number 377A, flood damage prevention application number 388A, Hellhaven LLC, 18 Juniper Road. This is the dock that we wrote up last week. Can you take over for a second, Jennifer? I'm trying to find my papers.
Okay, what do you want me to read?
Just to ask the commission if they have any questions.
Oh, do you have any questions? Anyone have anything on this application?
No.
Riley's happy.
Gately happy.
Ben's happy.
Paul?
Mr. Rand?
I got them.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Everyone's
Jennifer's
okay? All right, so
Uh,
then I think this draft is okay. What do Jeremy, do I have to approve it or just?
No, I think Steve has a comment. He's dug out his paperwork here, and I think he has a little markup on this one, correct?
Correct, yes. The only thing I have to say is, can we add in a required finding to the bottom that there was no neighbor opposition?
Sure, we can include that right after, between number 4 and 5, or after number 5.
Yeah, either 10.
Okay.
'Cause
10.
We did it on.
No public, okay, no input from public hearing.
Okay. And then I think I'm good. Yep, I'm good. Take a motion to approve as amended. Larry Warble, is it you?
I make that motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second? I think that's Kara Gately again.
Yep, seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Here we go.
6-0.
Great. 6-0. Fantastic. Moving on. Special permit application number 58D, Darien Historical Society, 45 Old Kings Highway North. This is the new camp in town. George Riley, any questions?
I noted that this provides for valet drop-off pickup procedures, and I kind of pressed on that subject that I didn't really think they were talking about that. Certainly as to drop-off, but if that's what I was sensitive to that, having learned from the Cherry Lawn, the Nature Center issue, I thought it was wise. So I like that it's there. I'm a little surprised that it's there, but I'm for it.
Is that where we put in the part they have to be escorted?
Is that what valet means?
No, but staggered on number 4. I think that's what he's talking about.
This is Fred Dunn. I believe that's the case. During the public hearing, the applicant had indicated that the campers would be driven up and the counselors would come out and escort the camper from the car into the building.
Right, I caught that too.
That was the premise behind the valet drop-off pickup situation.
And they would also take them out after the program?
That wasn't really, at least to my knowledge, that wasn't really discussed at the public hearing, but we included that in the resolution. If the commission feels that goes beyond what you think is necessary, then we can certainly modify that.
I think your memory is right, and I favor it. I mean, I know that they didn't really talk about bringing them out to the car at the end of the day, but I think that is appropriate.
So George, you're talking about item number 4. It's the camp staff would escort campers.
Under property usage and activities, under the resolution itself, D is in David.
Okay. So D is in David. It talks about valet drop off, and then 4 it talks about camp staff would escort campers. So it's two different words that's kind of doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, maybe the word valet.
I think valet is kind of a term of art, but I defer to you folks. Fred would know. That's what we use with the nature center. I think that's what they were describing at the nature center, and that seemed pretty high touch, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay, that's fine. So you're okay with
use valet? Yes, we can use.
You're okay with the way it's written, George?
Yes.
Okay. Kara Gately, any questions, comments?
No.
Okay. I did Kara Gately. Larry Warble?
No questions.
Jim Rand?
No questions.
Jennifer Leahy?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. So when this word of the use valet, maybe I'm also remembering it incorrectly, and my kid has done pink rhubarb. They were dropped, because when I did pink rhubarb, it was staggered because no one showed up at the same time, right? Like there'd be people coming at different times between the 9 and 9:45 drop off, and it sounded like that's what was discussed on the phone. Valet, pick up and drop off. I don't remember campers being walked out to cars is what I think of as valet. I'm confused. I don't remember that being discussed at all. A valet pickup system?
It was definitely discussed that they would be escorted from the cars. A camp staff would meet the campers, which is
right for drop off.
Right, for drop off. I don't remember.
Just don't remember pickup.
Are we requiring for pickup? Is the question.
Right.
And I got out of my car for pickup, but I mean, I don't. Obviously this is different, but I don't know.
I think this is Jeremy Ginsburg. I think Fred is correct that it wasn't really discussed at pickup. I think George is right. Valet might not be the right word when someone comes out to get you and walk you into the building, but Fred's right. At the end of the day, they didn't really go into it, any details. And I think that's what George and Jennifer are saying is maybe valet's the wrong word. And
yeah, valet's the wrong word.
Okay.
Valet's the wrong word.
Do you have
Yeah, I'm saying I like it, though. I think they ought to do the same thing. At the end of the day, they should do the same as they do at the beginning of the day.
That's not.
I don't really care. I mean, as a mom who did pick rhubarb, like going in and getting your kid and picking up the materials that they are taking home, I can't. I don't know. I just think that would be that wasn't discussed.
Do you want to talk about it, Karen? Go ahead, Karen.
How about, because I think that had done it, and it's valet, it seems like, on the drop-off, but because the kids are coming home with maybe art projects or, materials and things that they're leaving with, it seems like, given the ages of the kids, Jen, am I wrong? Do parents or some sort of caregiver go inside or go to a pickup area and pick the child up rather than it being a camp staffer valeting the kid? A parent or a caregiver is going to retrieve the child.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Let me make a suggestion. Rather than make the whole thing subject to somebody's understanding or assumption a year or two from now about what valet means, let's put a stipulation in there that it is understood or is required that staff will
collect
adults from the car and deliver them back to the car at the end of the day.
Well, how about
bunch of 8-year-olds running out into the parking lot looking for mom?
No, Jim, I think we're all agreeing with you, but I think at the end of the day, it's not staff. It's a parent or a babysitter or a caregiver, whoever, the grandparent or whoever. In the morning, it's staff. You pick up, it's not. So maybe we should write it up as an appropriate adult supervisor, right? Because the staffer is a supervisor in the morning at pickup, a drop off, whereas the parent, babysitter, guardian, whoever, is the appropriate supervising adult to bring the child from the camp to the automobile in the parking lot at pickup after the camp.
Let me see if I can.
It's about an adult, right, taking care of the 8-year-old, not about valet or whatever, which I think is your point.
Let me see if I can change 2 words and see if I can get it right. Go to D as in David. Say escorted drop off.
Yes.
And cross off the word pickup procedures. So escorted drop off procedures for all campers shall be adhered to, as noted during the public hearing. And then parents, caregivers will.
I think escorted works both ways.
Right, but I'm changing the word escorted. I'm adding it, I guess, the second sentence. So it's escorted drop off, and then the pickup procedures.
It's still escorted. It's just by the parent, right? I think to provide flexibility and alleviate the need to come back. I think what everyone's concern is that making sure that there's an adult, whoever it is.
So you want it. So you want to keep in escorted drop off and pickup.
Is actually, I think, escorted adult.
Okay.
For sure, you're going to have.
It's the way we.
Okay, I see
For
what
sure,
you're
you're
saying.
going to have a mom with a sleeping infant in a automobile seat who's not going to be able to come in and collect her kid.
No.
The baby's sleeping.
So I think what Kara's saying is change the word valet to escorted and leave in pickup. So the escort can either be a parent or it can be a staff, but it's got to be somebody.
Again, this is Fred Donite. I would just add a point of clarification, particularly to George's concern with respect to the word valet. I think when you compare this particular situation to what the commission did for the nature center with and valet pickup and drop off for the nature center was I think largely tied to the parking situation there and the lack thereof, whereas the parking issue at least on the surface, doesn't appear to be as much of an issue at the Historical Society as it would have been, or as it is at the Nature Center. So I think the parking situation at least gives parents or whoever's picking up the child an opportunity to park there and walk in and pick up the child, whereas that might not be a viable option for the nature center.
I think the word valet means that the person's got to work for the camp. I think if you change it to escorted, it can go both ways.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Are you good? Carrie, you're good?
Oh, yeah.
Jim, you're good? Jennifer, did you speak up yet? I lost I'm out of my batting order. Larry Warble, any questions?
I'm okay.
Okay. I think it's back to me now. I just want to add that the camp will be licensed by the state in the proper usage and activity someplace.
Okay, we can add that into a new condition B. Camp shall be properly licensed by the state.
But I was under
No?
but I was under like 5 and 6 in that area. But they said it was going to be licensed by the state.
Right. Oh, that's right. That at the public hearing they explained.
They're licensed by the state.
Yes.
Okay. Then number 7 it said no public comment opposition to the application were received. Can we put in that a neighbor put in a letter of support?
Yep.
Thanks, Steve. I was going to write that.
Okay. This is where we're talking about the river and the other docks thing where no one, opposed it. Then I'm at B as a boy, where it's maximum 30 campers shall be permitted and participate in accordance with the state license or something like that. Okay, then G as in good. State, town, or other regulated agencies for summer camps.
Right.
The reason why I make that point to the commissioners is that the state of Connecticut regulates these things. And if they, if they say it can only be 20 kids, then it's not going to be 30. If they say it's going to be 50 kids, then they got to come back to us. But I want to make sure that we know and they know it's a state licensed camp.
And the only other thing I just noted right now, this is Jeremy Ginsburg, is in number 1, where we say the subject application is to amend special permit 58D. We can just take that out. We can just say the subject application is to establish a 5-week summer camp.
Okay. And one other technical thing. Shit, number 7. On one of the other ones, we did it. Where's number 7? Shit. On the front page where it says room night and go to meeting online, put the word town hall after that.
Yes, thank you.
Because you did it on the other one.
Yep.
You didn't do it on this one. Okay. With those changes, everybody good with those changes? Okay, entertain a motion to approve from Jim Rand.
I move that this
Second from
application be approved.
Second from George Riley.
Yes, as amended, please. Yep.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 6-0. Okay. Next, we're all good with that. Next, deliberations only on public hearing number that we just did tonight. The only one that's out there, actually, was all of them.
We have 3 of them. 47 5 Mile River was the first. That hearing closed earlier this evening.
Okay. We have Long Neck Point, and we have Salem Straits, and we have the other one.
Nope, just 3.
Okay, let's do 218 Long Neck Point Road first, since Jay Klein and Jackie are still on the phone. We'll get those guys off line as soon as they can. That is the Zangrillo dock that's going to move a few feet south and replace the existing dock and be on our property and be away from the other dock. Let's go around the horn. Where's my agenda? Jennifer Leahy, any questions? Comments?
Did we just lose Jennifer? I think we just lost her.
Okay, let's skip to Jim Rand, my maritime guy.
I love the idea of a dock. I have no questions. I'm fine with it.
Okay. Kara Gately?
No questions. I actually think, given the situation with the subdivision, the shared dock, the new owner, it makes a lot of sense, and I have no questions and no comments at this point.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Kara. Larry Warble?
No questions or comments.
There you go. George Riley?
Good by me.
Okay. We didn't hear from Jennifer, but I think the other day we have a motion to write
I
it
think
up.
she just jumped back on.
Are you back, Jen?
So we'll write it up for next week.
Okay, we're going to write that up as a...
Back. Let me unmute her.
Okay. Where is she?
All good. Yes, sorry, I'm fine.
Thank you. You're caller number 2 now.
Caller number 2.
Cognito. All right, so we're going to write up that one.
Okay, that'll be for next week, hopefully.
We're going to try to put that for Jay Klein and Jackie Kaufman. We're going to try to put that on next week's agenda for a draft approval. All right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Stay
You're
well.
welcome. Next up is 5 Mile River Road. Proposal to construct a dock and install a new ramp there. That's one that's got the 2, mini lots on either side of it or next to it. We'll go around the horn again on that one. Jennifer Leahy, any questions, comments?
Nope, all good.
Jim Rand?
No questions.
Kara Gately?
I don't think I had any questions other than I think we discussed having the application include the other tax lot properties that, no, nothing.
Okay, so I think what you just alluded to is that the survey that they submitted was, I think, out of date because it was I think December 26, 2019. They have a new
Yes.
one, 2019, I said that right? Yeah. And then we're also awaiting the approval from DEP. We don't have that letter yet.
That's correct.
Right.
That would be another condition.
Okay, that's good. Larry Warble, questions, comments? You're still muted, Larry. He's smiling, saying no. There he is.
I'm all good, thanks.
Thank you, Larry. George Riley.
All good.
Okay, so it looks like we're writing up an approval for that one for
Next week.
next week. Thank you, sir. Next, we have Salem Straits. Proposal to remove the existing in-ground pool, spa, and build a new pool, outdoor kitchen, expand the driveway. Let's start from the bottom this time. George Riley, any questions, comments? You good? Larry
I am
Warble? I'm sorry, you good, George?
Yes.
Okay, Larry Warble?
Yeah, I'm good.
Carrie Gately?
Good.
Jim Rand?
Good.
Okay, and Jennifer Leahy, caller number 2. Fran Jones laughing. Where's your beer? See, this is my call sheet. That's my list. Jennifer's probably fine. All right. So
We'll draft that up for next week as well.
okay, we're drafting up for next week.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. We did the 3, correct?
Yes.
We're not doing Raymond Street and Wilder got punted. Okay. We're down to minutes. Sorry it's taking so long, guys. We tried hustling it up. We're down to minutes. Approve our minutes, April 14th. We got minutes in our packet. I got a couple edits to the beginning. At the where it says place,
Yes,
can we put in room town hall in front of room 119
sure.
and then go to meeting online? That's that. What the heck is this? Okay. With regards to the Corbin project, the only thing I want to say is that they're increasing, you wrote there where it's increasing the height by 9 inches on one building, 8 inches on the other building, and going down by 2.5 feet on a different building. Can we say in accordance with the way Darien measures the buildings?
Yes, that's a good point.
Because the ends of the buildings are going up a lot higher than 8 inches.
Right, but it's in accordance with the way, yep.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
Can you repeat that, Steve?
Sure. The way Darien measures buildings, it's to the average grade to the middle. It's the middle of the peak for an average grade. In specific, building number I is going up in the center and not going up on the 2 wings. The center portion of the building is going to be a lot higher than going up by 8 inches. Okay, it's the way Darien measures it. So it's low on either side, and then high in the middle. The average, and the way we measure to the middle of the peak, it's only going up 8 inches.
So when you say average to the middle, you don't mean taking the middle height. You mean averaging.
Highest peak.
Because it's kind of like a
the middle.
rainbow.
Okay.
It's kind of like a rainbow, right?
Yeah,
So of the average,
of the whole arc.
correct. The average is only going up 8 inches. Right. So when you see
Whereas-
a tall building there in
For
4
the
years,
reason is going up higher.
say again.
More than
Correct.
the portion of the building that they're actually increasing is increasing a greater
More.
amount
Correct.
than the average.
Yes.
Steve, let me put it in my terms, make sure I understand. You've got 2 wings and you got a center, and let's assume that the 2 wings are 50% of the total.
Yep.
So you got 50%, 25, 50, and 25.
Yep.
So if the average is going up 8 and the middle is 50%, then the middle could go up 16.
No,
Yes.
we measure from the highest peak to the highest eve. So if the ends are lower, they can go up a lot because you're just taking the highest peak and the highest eve. So if you have a house with different roof lines, you can bring those other roof lines up a great amount because we're measuring
As long
just
as
to the
it's
highest peak and then the highest eave, which could be on that roof line.
All right, so you explain it. How tall is it? How tall is the middle of the building going up? More than 8 inches or not?
I'm guessing more than 8 inches, but as you've acknowledged, the way that David explains it is to comply
David
with the
Keating.
Darien regulations, this David Genovese,
Okay.
is they are lifting it by 9 inches as calculated, even though the actual lift or the change in the roof or the change in the eaves might be greater than that in certain areas. But what he described was the third floor is where the bulk of the change would be to allow more light to get into the dormers. As David said, one of the learning pieces here is that the building at 1020, the third floor apartments have very small windows because the roof line is not as high as it could be. So they're not as bright as they could be. So I don't know if Dave Keating has anything he wants to add to this. I know he's on the call, but basically, Dave, if I recall, the ARB is also going to look at this change from Mr. Genovese as well, correct?
Correct. ARB will be looking at the change, and I do want to get a clarification from David Genovese's office and just be able to compare the approved drawings with the proposed drawings, because I think that they might be trying to use the total average roof height to determine building height, and that's not what we do in general, and I don't think that the changes to the Corbin district change the way we define building height. So I do need to get a clarification from David's office, David Genovese's office, about comparing the old and the new.
Okay, so bottom line is he's allowed to go up to 50 feet regardless, correct?
Yes, that was per the maximum allowed by the regulations in that particular portion. I believe it was a 50-foot maximum. Yes.
Right. That's what I remember it too, because that came up at one of the hearings. And this is just factual to get the minutes right. I don't want anyone to look when the building's built 4 years from now to be like, "Whoa, wait a second, what happened?" But when they got the plans, the question came down: if the building's only be 42 feet high, why do you need approval up to 50 feet high? And that was for flexibility for things like this to happen. So. We're talking about the minutes. We approved it. He can get his height. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that what's going to happen when it does happen. But I appreciate you fact it. Make sure ARB's on board and everyone knows what's going on.
But just to think back to the discussion, did he not say that in any case he's below?
Correct.
That the revised plan is below what he's permitted. So,
Yes.
I mean, do we really care?
No. I just want the minutes to be right. That's
Well, we want to make sure that he is factually correct as well, and I think ARB is going to look at that one just to make sure he's correct.
That's fine. I understand. Thank you.
Karen, did you have a question? Okay. All right.
Any other comments on the minutes?
The minutes. That was there. Okay, the next sentence down. Based on the minor changes in the proposed surface parking that may be changed, he was talking about columns and garbage areas, not surface parking.
Right. We can take out the word surface?
Yeah. Based on minor changes to the proposed parking that may be required, the change would represent approximately 20 spaces. He mentioned the reason why it might not be 47, it might be 20, because of garbage dumpsters on those.
Right.
Service parking to meet with street grade. Then the next paragraph, we only approved the height adjustment only. The way I read it, it talked about it kind of made it sound like we're reading the height and the parking. We didn't do any.
What if we say commission members approved the proposed amendments and indicated they were in favor of? Do you want to say that?
That's fine. I don't care. It's to approve the height adjustments only. It says the commission indicated they were generally in favor of the proposed amendments to the approved and configured underground parking structure. Then at the bottom it talks about the vote. We only
I
voted.
thought the underground parking, he was just previewing for us.
Correct.
I don't think
Yeah,
he
so we'll
actually
take that out.
presented.
Yeah, we did not vote on the parking.
Right here.
Okay. Because I don't think we approved it or voted on it
No, we
or
did
delivered
not.
it. I think it was
So I can even say that, no vote was
pre-
taken on the parking. Okay.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. And then that's it. That's it for me. With those adjustments, I'm looking for a motion to approve from George Riley.
You have it.
Thank you. A second from Jim Rand? Or Larry? or-
Absolutely happy to second. On.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go.
Great.
All right, we're done. Next item of bid, any other business? Seeing none? Entertain a motion to adjourn from caller number 2.
Motion to adjourn.
Yay.
Second from Larry.
I second.
There we go. All those in favor? 10:26.
Beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, that's not good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, Cole.
We're all done, TV 79. Meeting is adjourned.
Good to see you all.